Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Founders Log. I'm your host, Calvin Wineland, coming back at you with the Founders Log, where we talk about the past, the present, and the future behind American Butchers JERKi, the #1 supporting military service member beef jerky brand that supports deployed service members with bags of beef jerky. Every 2 bags bought, we send 1 bag overseas. We also support local American agriculture by buying directly from FFA and 4-H animals. So, welcome back. Today is January 15th, 2022, Founders Log iteration number 29. Without further ado, we should get right into it. I want to kick off today's conversation with this thought that I've kind of been having for the past week. And it kind of kicks off with wondering how many years it takes for a business to feel like they've officially made it. Like, what is their definition of success as a company? Crazy story someone once told me about Amazon. It took Amazon almost 14 years to finally turn a profit. That is crazy, especially to think that as a business owner, you are putting in an investment for 14 years with actually getting no return back on that investment. Initially, Amazon went public in 97, and if I'm looking at Amazon's quarterly net profits right now, and I see at one point in the first 5 years, they were down almost $500 million. That is absolutely crazy to think. And often I find myself wondering about the relationship between personal funds and business funds. So what do I mean by that? Well, how much of my own personal funds should I be continuing to invest in a business before you start to have to believe that the business should be able to eventually run itself? Yeah, I've kind of been tossed with this conversation, and that's going to kind of help us pinpoint some of our conversation today. As always, I just want to remind you that this entire Founders Log is a podcast, and it is a written document that can be found over on our website. I add more into the podcast if you're interested in listening. Otherwise, majority of the content comes directly from the actual written Founders Log that is posted on our website. But today, 15 January 22 covers the past week. So how we kind of kick these off is we deep dive into the past, talk about what we've been doing in the last week. Then we look at what we're currently working on in the present, and ultimately what we want to take American Butchers JERKi into the future, and talk about some of the things that we're working with as we move forward. So the past, some food for thought that opened for today's conversation is last week we highlighted the struggle that we had been facing with the lack of placement we felt being so far from the source of production for American Butchers JERKi, and the challenges that I've been facing when it comes to order fulfillment and production of orders. For those of you who don't know, I'm currently on a 1-year rotation deployment overseas, making this actually from my deployment. So all of the order fulfillment and production for American Butchers JERKi is currently being done in the States by my family. So it's been a crazy ordeal, and check out last week if you want a little bit of more introduction into it. I won't deep dive into it too much for those of you who already have listened to last week's and you kind of want something new this week. Well, long behold, the truth will set us free. I ended up messaging all of our customers who ordered with us through the past week, or past, since we kind of talked last week. And I pretty much, anyone who had a delay with their order because of the COVID scare or the holidays wrapping up, and everything actually worked out extremely well. When it comes to running a business, one of the most important things I can highlight in my 1.5 years of experience of doing this is I can highlight the key to success is communication and transparency. Hands down, those two are amazing when it comes to it. And I suppose this is very similar to running a marriage, as they've always said, is communication and transparency makes everything go right. But I wrote an email to each customer, and I highlighted the struggles that we were facing, and I wanted to give them each a sincere apology for the delay. And, well, to my joy, they each wrote back. We had about 4 different customers, and they wrote back expressing their complete understanding of the situation and their patience for their order. They actually highlighted that they the reason that they had ordered was not because of the jerky itself, but rather the importance of the cause they were supporting for the donations going overseas. So it seems that we have a lot of customers who appreciate our beef jerky, awesome, but they also understand the importance of what it is that we're doing here at American Butchers JERKi and the importance of making sure that we're donating products overseas. So pretty awesome that our customers reached back out to us, had a complete understanding about how everything is handled for American Butchers JERKi. So that is awesome. And one of the things that I've picked up out of this is it seems to be it's easier to communicate and express your current dilemmas than honestly to just kind of leave a customer in the dark and hoping that it'll get easier or orders will soon be flowing again. It's all about the recipe for success. And I know some people are like, of course, cliche, that is always going to be easier. Well, as I was thinking about this, it took like 3 days for me to finally decide what it was I was going to do. And we ended up shooting out the emails, and we kind of just wanted to make sure that we were as transparent as possible, because some people, one of the things I hate is, for example, placing an order and it takes like 7 days to fulfill it, and you're wondering what is going on. And I mean, now in today's modern society, we're all about rush. We're all about getting it quick. We're all about wanting to know the status of our order. So as you are taking your own personal business, or you're figuring out your own type of dilemmas, I honestly can say hands down, the last week, something that we've learned is the importance of communication and transparency. But to bring us back around to the opening conversation about the success for a business, I want to talk about what it means for American Butchers JERKi to be successful, and how I kind of have portrayed our own success, and are we a successful business? Because sometimes some people might feel that their business is not successful. Well, for American Butchers JERKi, I measure our success based on the donations overseas. So our goal for the first year was 500 bags, and we crushed that goal. By May of last year, we hit like 675 bags being donated overseas. So we went above and beyond our 500 goal bag. In my eyes, that was success. American Butchers JERKi in the first year was successful as a business. For the second year, now that we're almost into our closing of the second year, it's now January. We close out year number 2 of American Butchers JERKi on May 16th. We set the goal to be 1,000 bags. Now, some say, why not more? Well, you did 500 the first year. Why not go 1,500 the second year? Because obviously you're supposed to be getting progressively bigger. Well, 1,000 bags for a 2-year operation was a goal that I had set myself to actually achieve in my personal 5-year goal. When I started American Butchers JERKi and we were sitting in a COVID quarantine lifestyle, bored out of my mind, I'm talking back when like COVID was first starting off and we started this jerky lifestyle. I set the goal that I wanted to achieve in my personal life, my work life, and my family life. And I've got this plastered right here on my wall, and it's my 5-year goals for those 3 criterias. And number 2 on my personal goals is to give and donate 1,000 bags and grow the business by 1,000 bags donated within the first 5 years. So I think it's safe to say that we're well ahead of this goal, and probably by the time that 5 years comes around, we will have doubled our initial goal. So 5 years, first year, 1,000 bags, second year, I think is a pretty good goal, especially since we set that as our 5-year goal. Now, the measure of success comes from the values and accomplishments we set for ourselves. Will American Butchers JERKi be the fastest beef jerky brand to grow? Probably not. We might have already been behind this business, because what I can tell, there's so many other beef jerky businesses out there, and they're probably doing it a hell of a lot better than we are. But something that I can tell you, hands down, and what I can tell you is going to be one of the biggest things about American Butchers JERKi, is we are going to have the largest impact on the military community and the local community. 1,000 bags is right around the corner. I think we're sitting at like 695 bags donated right now with almost 3 months to go. And that correlates to our current avenues, our current goals. And for the past few days, what I've been doing is I've been documenting this daily 30. So which what is the Daily 30? Well, the Daily 30 is a 30-second highlight reel of my 24 hours. I wanted to be able to look back through these days of growing American Butchers JERKi, growing our personal life, growing my time here overseas, and essentially I just record little snippets of whatever I'm doing throughout the day, and I put it all together, and at the beginning of the next day, I edit all these videos together, and I do a 30-second highlight reel of the 24 hours. So it pretty much gives me an opportunity to look back at the past, look back and just watch a 30-second video of whatever memory or whatever thing I'm trying to ultimately get at. And so these 30-second highlights are pretty much going to be published or have been published thus so far over on our YouTube channel, and we're currently on day 3, so I can't say this is a long process, but it's something that I've done so far to kind of look back and think about what we are and what we've been doing thus so far. Very similar to these Founders Logs, this just gives more of a visual appeal. So if you're ever on YouTube and you want to check it out, stay engaged, and as we move along with American Butchers JERKi. Now, the Daily 30 will also allow me to shamelessly plug American Butchers JERKi in any way that I can do it, from having products on display in the video to repping one of our Butcher JERKi shirts throughout the day. And sometimes marketing isn't necessarily just throwing brands right in your face, but rather having subtle hints at the project you're promoting. And hopefully in time, your audience begins to see those hints and gets curious as to see what those hints lead to. I'm not necessarily doing a full marketing scheme, but when these 30-second highlight reels, I've been including bags of jerky in them. I've been wearing our Butcher JERKi shirt. And what that essentially does is gives an audience an opportunity to wonder what American Butchers JERKi is. What's that cool ass shirt he's wearing, or that awesome beef jerky? So that is my shameless plug for the 30 seconds reel. The Daily 30, I can kind of make a little video out of it, incorporate some cool stuff into it. And ultimately, the most important thing is that we continue each day to pursue a new avenue in ways of making ABJ, American Butchers JERKi, grow. But there is one thing I cannot continue to do, and this kind of leads us into our future conversation, and one thing I want to get better at as we move forward. One thing I cannot do is I cannot compare American Butchers JERKi to other businesses and wonder why we're not growing at the same rate at which they're growing. A great quote I read from Theodore Roosevelt was actually that comparison is the thief of joy. We can't compare our chapter 2 of our business to another business's chapter 15. Our timelines are moving at remarkably different rates, and the only thing you can continue to do, regardless of your business, is focus on the thing that resonates well with your audience and try and maximize the things that seem to be interesting to you, and to continue to take a step each day for your business. At the end of the day, creating a business is like creating something brand new, and ultimately leads down to success and hiccups. Sometimes the best road is the road less traveled, and it's all right to learn from others and see tips and tricks that help them be successful, but it's also important to realize that you are you, and no other business is going to be you, and you are never going to be any other business. That's something that I definitely can work on. And social media seems to be doing that a lot, in which people compare themselves to other social media influencers, other businesses. And at the end of the day, we are ourselves. And no matter what business you're running or no business you're working on, it's all about you and figuring out how you can put yourself in this world and how you can make it better. So, as I leave you all for this week's closing, I just want you to remember this passage, because I too often forget about this and zone myself out when the things I try and work towards at the end are not showing the same results I had hoped for. Thomas Edison didn't believe in failure, stating that I never failed. I just found 10,000 ways for something not to work. The light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps. And ultimately, great success is built on failure, frustration, and sometimes even catastrophes. So, until next week, thank you all for listening. Calvin Wineland signing out. Founders Log number 29 is officially over. Appreciate you all for listening. And until next week, We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.